welcome to Dining and Doodles Live. We are here to do a different thing that we've not done recently, and that is going to be doing an original character draw. And today we're going to draw a villain that's going to be appearing in the next chapter of my weekly isekai, which sadly is going to probably be delayed until a bit later in this week. We're going to be working on it real hard, but things are changing around in here, and I'll be getting to it. But I'll be going over the isekai and a few more things, as well as covering our sponsor, Built Bar, at the end of the stream. So I thank everyone for tuning in, and if you want to check everything out, we'll be right here with you throughout the process. Now, I'm trying to see here what's going on. I just had chat up. I lost it. Okay. Well, we'll get down to business here. And that is, there we go. That allows me to see it. I'm going to go on over to our drawing table. And here we have our setup. And we've got a few notes here down in the bottom, right here. These are the notes that I have written about the character that I'm going to draw. So these are things that I have to hit in this scene. So I want them to be undead. I want them to have a skeletal, flesh-covered skeletal figure. So it's going to be very skinny, kind of creepy drawing. It needs to hold an axe. It is female. Creepy eyes. I need to make sure those eyes will haunt the person who is looking into it. Young yet old looking. Now, this is going to be a very challenging note here to hit. Color tones, blues, purples, greens, stay cool. And that means to stay in the cooler, darker tones. The purples, the greens, the blues all interact well with sort of that undead and creepy, dark, mysterious look. For background, I've noted that it needs to be broken ruins, particularly of a building or home, and moonlight is key. So I need to make sure the moonlight is featured, because that is part of, if you've been reading the series that I've been working on, which is called I was a tough lady killer mobster. Now I'm a klutzy maid girl that has to take down a demon lord. It's an odd, weird series. I literally started the series based off of just that line. I wanted to create the most outlandish yet working title I could think up. And that was what I came up with. And I've been writing the story, and the characters are now facing this curse throughout this town that basically transforms people into monsters in the moonlight. But they have to ingest the water, and this is going to be one of those creatures. This is a female creature, so like all things, we're going to try and get the figure down first. We want to get an idea of how this figure is going to be sitting. I'm going to make this a very thin line work, but I want to make the figure up in the center. I want to kind of make their shoulders go down like this, because they're carrying a big, heavy axe. And we almost want that axe to drop on the ground. Maybe let's give them a bit of a neck here. So we want to make this our central body right here. Because they're skinny, there's not going to be much to it. So we're going to put their weight in like this. Put their head up probably around here. Neck. And we just want to make sure that those arms are strained as much as possible, because this is going to be basically skeletal, almost skeletal looking remains. And when you're drawing something creepy, you always want to sort of get deep and dark into that mindset of your head and know what scares you the most. Bring that out. And so, I mean, with the face or the skeletal figure, is always a great mindset. Let's first move the logo out the way. So we're going to move the logo there, and I'm actually going to make it vanish for right now. Go back to the pencil layer here. We're just going to do sort of where the face is going to be. I almost want her jaw to be disjointed. And we want, since we want creepy eyes, we're going to want some big old skeletal eyes in here. Like sunken deep. It's going to have flesh, so I mean it's going to be kind of a cross between a skeletal wraith and a zombie is what we're looking for. And ways to achieve it is just sort of distort your skeletal figure. So, I mean, your typical skeletal figure in art is going to be almost a stick figure. As you can see here, I've kind of brought the legs in a little bit more. We want to sort of show almost a stiff look to this character. Like they have no real control over much of their body, that it's jointed, that everything is tiring. So we want to bring out that kind of look. And their neck's going to be skinny. And I mean, just bone pure skinny. What I'm just sort of doing is just sort of getting an idea of the body as we go. Getting an idea of the form. We're going to want the hairline to be up here. That gives us more of a sort of creep out look at the eyes. It brings them out more. Almost make their cheekbones up here, so we're almost making a full skeletal face. I'm going to do sort of this almost rib cage to rib, or not to rib, to bone hip here. So, I mean, it's almost sinks in on itself. Only way to really get an idea of what I'm talking about, it's pretty much you look at internment camp pictures, stuff like the Holocaust, and use that a little bit to get that sort of disjointed look. And the eyes, I want, like I said, I want to get them sunken, but I need to make them look and pop. So I'm going to do something like this and bring them out a little bit. Let's give her some hair. Her hair is going to be messy and unkept. And if I were doing this more in a comic sense, I'd probably get more detail that could be easily repetitive versus sort of an illustration sense, which is what we're going for with this, because I'm not doing these guys as a comic. I'm doing it as more of illustration and writing. So when we do it in the story, it's going to be far more illustrative in a sense. So we're going to want to focus more on how much detail is in this one image versus in a comic we would simplify things. We would find simple repetitive forms. Let's give her a loose cut braid. So we're just going to do kind of loose here. When doing braids in hair, it's important to understand that it's not a straight circle type thing. It's layers upon layers. So if you're going to do braids, you're going to want to do sort of these heart links between parts. Almost looks like a heart. And then you can bring them in. And then I'm going to bring this in, but then I'm going to have it sort of like tied and knotted in itself. But it's going to be broken up. And the idea of this character in this story, or this part of the story, is this is one of the girls. In the story, there's a werewolf in town that the group meets. The werewolf is a bit of a flirt. He's had several girlfriends. This is one of his exes. A poor sort of innkeeper's daughter that fell to the curse. And she is now basically cursed to be this skeletal wraith. And she's come to town looking to try and force part of the hero team to become more monsters to join the team, or the bad sides. So we've got this almost skeletal, evil look to her. And she's, of course, a victim in this. She's not looking to do this, but she's being controlled, and that's part of this curse that they're having to deal with in this chapter. Now, this series is a bit comedy, a bit absurd, but at the same time, there's a lot of good drama, a lot of good story, and the element that follows the main character who used to be a mobster, Japanese Yakuza to be precise, and he used to be this big, tough, sort of ladies' man guy. And now he's having to adapt to coming to this new world after getting in a fight with a god, and basically having the challenge to take the god on, but in order to do that, the character has to get through the demon lord's men to do this. And part of it is the gods continuously taunting him, basically like, hey, you can't beat me, you can't get to me, you're too weak throughout the series. And that sort of gets the character. And the main character was originally called Hideo Ito. I based him off of the sort of tough Yakuza mobster that you see in video games or movies. He's just this brute of a man. And now he's this thin, fast little maid girl, uh, and who's now called Azul Darkholt. Uh, and Azul is quite an interesting character to write. You have a character who kind of had their life completely changed around. They're having to adapt to this world. While they've been born into it, so they've had a few years to adapt. And the story, the first part of the story, takes place when Azul is only in her. Let's see, she's only 7, I believe. For, it's been a while since I've even read the series, that part of the series. But yeah, she has to deal with the first of the Demon King or Demon Lord's generals. And the first one is the Demon Lord of Jealousy. And jealousy is this powerful, manipulative figure who likes to force their way through uh, and get what they want. And in a way, jealousy kind of won in their confrontation. Jealousy did get away, and did what she was there to do. Jealousy in this case was a female, disguised as the queen. A little bit of spoilers for those that haven't read the series yet. She was this evil, torturous queen, and she's going to keep playing throughout the series. And Azul is basically the bastard child of the king and a doctor in the series. So, basically, her brother is the quote unquote hero of the land. So his duty is to go out and defeat the Demon King, and Azul has to take over that role as well. But because she's not of royal blood, pure royal blood, she is simply a maid, and she has to go through, and they have to gather together a group of warriors. They have a goddess who has no idea of what to do. In fact, she is very indecisive, yet she's the goddess of fate, and she's there to basically be as a guide for Ito through the journey. You have the souls of Ito's former one is his former friend and one is his former enemy in the forms of slimes that journey along with them. You have a waitress that is a powerful mage. You have a flashy swordsman who no one can remember his name. And you have a ninja who no one really knows what the ninja looks like, the sex, age, whatever. It's simply that's the ninja. So I try to work and put together a little bit of humor in the series. Um, and it's a way for me to sort of get my writing chops up to snuff. And that's part of what the concept is here. I want the story to be enjoyable, and I want to be able to grow my own strength through the storytelling. Now, see, this is sort of our one form. I kind of don't like it fully. I feel it's just kind of just too stiff. So, I mean, we're going to leave this here for right now. We're going to just fade it away, and we're going to try a different. Let's try to bring head around here, shoulder around here. Maybe like this, where it's sort of, you can feel that sort of drag of the axe. The idea I'm sketching right here is we have this sort of broken up doorway with cracks in the walls of this place, and this door busting open with this creature. So I think that if we can give it a bit of look here, just play with the idea a bit. And that's the key. I mean, you need to know what you want this to look like. So I mean, you need to sketch out your ideas. This one I wanted to do completely blind, so I just knew what I wanted for the character in the notes, and we're just going to go with it, and we're going to see what we can come up with in the little bit of time that we have. So let's see here. Maybe downward. Try and get the body. These are just quick little runs, and if you're going to do an illustration, you want to do it over and over and over again with that sketch, just to get it to look right, just to get that sketch down. So I mean, we have sort of an idea of what we want the character to look like, but we need to know that form that we want that character to look like in. So we want to sort of make this axe feel like it's dragging. We want to make this character look like they're struggling with it. Yeah, actually, I think having this axe almost drag on the ground might work. So let's do something like, here's the body. Here's the axe, the hip, and drag. Yeah. And then we'll do the eyes, the hair. Now, story-wise, this character, because one of the things I do with my weekly isekai, I let the people who read it vote on what happens next, or elements of the story. One of the things they voted on was this character. They voted on a wraith. So, I mean, we're trying to get that wraithy look. So, with a wraith, you sort of a cross between a ghost, a skeleton, and a zombie. You want something to sort of look undead and unnormal. So one of the things, let's see, we'll fade those out a lot. let's get a background started here, and then we can work from there. So, because I want to have that disjointed feel, this doorway is not going to even be even. Let's get it higher on the page. We're going to give it a disjointed look to this doorway. So we want a doorway. We want a little bit of a door frame, because when you're building a door, you're gonna have a frame. Then we're gonna want this sort of almost rotted wall where cracks are gonna be shown. We're gonna want the moon slightly shown somewhere, so let's do it right here in this corner. It's a dense forest area, so we're gonna have a bit of forest going through. Some more slatted wood. And we're going to end the door right down here. Just short of the bottom of the page. We almost want, because this is supposed to be an old sort of fantasy world, these wood planks to be prominent. So, uneven. If you've ever been in an old house, I luckily live in Virginia. There's tons of old houses. There's houses that go back to the 6th century, or 16th century, and they are just broken wooden floors, slat flooring. It's not pretty. We'll do some like little bits and pieces of moonlight showing through. And then let's get the layer for our featured character. So we want the head to be prominent. They're going to be doing their shoulder right in here. So we're going to put their shoulder down here. And their other shoulder is going to be up. So they're going to be kind of in this twisted form. And we might want to do some of the door just still hanging on through like a crickety old hinge. Definitely put some broken pieces on the floor to help give sort of a destroyed feature. Bring the foot in here. Foot's going to be dragging this big old axe. And we'll have the handle up, so they're choking up on the handle. Let's actually make the head a little bit, since we're going for creepy and skeletal, let's actually make it a little bit bigger. Almost make it a little bit more pointy. We kind of want the eyes going in there, nose going in there, and we'll do a mouth there, the hair. I'm actually going to make hair go this way, so we'll do little broken bits of hair there. And all of this is going to be kind of highlighted by this sort of creepy moonscape. So we're going to do foot there, foot here. Those eyes have got to be set on the center. So those are going to be our key focuses right there in those eyes. So let's draw that attention there. Let's make it look a little furious. Almost give it sort of like a creepy eyed faced look. And want the female. Okay. Always kind of just good to get a feel for how you want the image to look. This is all just quick sketches. Nothing's final until we put our pen down. But we're not worried about mistakes. We're just going to keep pushing. So we have kind of the build of where we want it. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to fade some of these other stuff. And let's go in with the face. So do the face. We need to make it look human yet skeletal. So one of the things that we can do is we can make the brow and the cheekbone prominent. Sort of bring that sinking jawline. Make that brow sort of follow. And we're going to do that sort of jagged sort of eye. We're not going to even give them a full white sinking eye. We're just going to do a jagged eye. Black. We're going to do the same here. We want to kind of give it that same jagged look for the eye. Almost, let's see here, actually, we're going to undo some of this. So we want it to we need them to almost be exactly alike in size and everything. We don't have much room to play with it, because this is a prominent feature. We want this to be key. So we give him a sunken eye, an almost sunken nose. So you can have sort of this nose. We're going to do the mouth a bit here. Let's see here. Fade that so it doesn't confuse us. Mouth, we want to kind of give her pruned up lips. This is a character that's likely not touched liquid in some time. So you just want to kind of just give it a little bit of prune look, which is just a little crease. And then we're going to do jagged teeth here, or jagged separation of the teeth. It will come back through. And we'll just do little interpretations of. Just to kind of give it a little bit of love. See, these little notations, these little marks here and there give an influence of more of a 3D image. And that's one of the things when you want to have sort of the creepy look, you kind of want to bring in as much of our world into a 2D world when you're drawing it. And you just want to bring that in, because one of the things about creepy and mysterious and dark is the familiarity that we have in our own world. The closer we are to our world in horror, the better often horror tends to be, because it's that mysterious change just interrupting our world and destroying what we know is true in our world. That's not to say you can't have some sort of completely fantastical unknown. It's just, it helps have something to bring the reader in, to bring the audience in that they can relate to. A good example of that in a horror movie is Alien. In Alien, one of the first scenes you see, they're laughing about, they're having fun, they're enjoying things before the aliens start. So the enjoyment they're having, the party they're having, all of that is something that's relatable to us. And then the alien part of it, the true alien part in that series, that film, and then later in that series, of course, being the aliens themselves, make an appearance, and they just destroy what was the norm for these people. This is one thing I don't normally draw when you see any of my characters. I don't normally draw nostrils. I normally do this sort of nose almost triangle. Uh, and part of that is to give just sort of a nice, quick tone. But since we're going for more of an illustrated look this time, we want to give more of that obscure. Things that'll help you work on something like this. Learning the body, learning the anatomy helps a lot. Doing like that, doing horror, um, just the little changes in anatomy that you know that you can exaggerate, that you can draw, something that just makes it a little bit creepier, just adds elements to it. Which in this case, in this chapter, while the series is comedic and action based and sort of has a drama, touches of romance here and there, the horror, I want to give you sort of the, in this scene, I want to give that sort of element of hopelessness for these characters. So I need to have that sort of outside horror element that they're hiding away because they've fallen to the curse. And if they step outside into that moonlight, they're going to be cursed in the same way that this poor girl has. So we're just going to do the hint of skeletal remains. But let's also focus a bit on what we want to do with the bodies and whatnot. In this case, I want her skin to be purplish. And there's a reason I want to do that, because the background, the night sky I'm going to do later, is going to be dark purple, so it's almost purple on purple, with blue coming in and bringing in highlights. And elements of the green will come in through the eeriness, so there to be green. There's going to be using this sickling green that I love to use whenever I have to draw the undead or ghosts or whatnot. I always love this sort of sickeningly green coming up that I put into the eyes because it's a nice sort of contrast to the darker, cooler colors that you want in a creature that is undead. Sort of gives that alien look. A tiny bit red. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to do red. I think I'm going to do purple there. Dark purple. And here's that alien green that I'm just going to start the eyes with. And of course, every time I see green and purple, I think back to one thing in my life, and that is my high school. I graduated from high school where our colors were green and red. And while I liked the color scheme, I hated the mascot. And since then, they've changed the mascot because the mascot made no sense. Um, we were called the Rapids. Now, if you can think of a way to anthropomorphize Rapids, by all means, you're a bit better creativity than I can think of. We're not talking dogs, we're not talking animals, we're talking the actual Rapids themselves. And we couldn't figure that out. And I think they finally gave up a few years later. And then they did change it to a river dog. Because, by God, it's easier to determine what the hell that is than a couple people in a canoe showing up. Which is what we ended up doing on the homecoming game, which is another interesting story. Uh, my high school, when it was formed, I was the first graduating class. We had no senior class for the first year. We had my class was the first class to graduate, and we were made up of two schools that had the best football teams in possibly the state. The two best. So they thought, well, this school will open up and it'll have the best of the best. We couldn't score a field goal for a year. Our team didn't bully on other students. They bullied themselves because they couldn't stand each other. These were two rival teams that came and basically were told, get along, you're in a team now. And they didn't. They didn't. They fought each other constantly. I think that arm's a bit too skinny. Skinny's one thing, bony skinny is going to be another. All right, so we're going to want to bring up some stuff here. Man, that's a face only a mother could love. I don't even know if a mother could love it. Give her sort of almost a German milkmaid kind of look here. Or beer maid, or whatever you call them these days. Give her a little bit of this sort of look here. Then we'll actually probably do tear clothing right here. Bring them tear around here, down, over. Have some of the tear over here. And we'll leave the one on the far side here open so we can see sort of what it made. which is probably be like a poofy sleeve with some more of this frill. On the side. We want to see the bone sort of popping out there. And we'll do a bit of the frill still on the bottom here. So we'll do the frill here. Too much. There we go. Over. Frill over. So there we go. We're going to add our purple down in the body here. Try to fix our mistakes here. All right. That's going to be an off-white. So let's actually do a peach. Give it sort of a dirtier white look. You always want to sort of have a base color to work from. And this peach, I think, is going to bring a nice little touch of warmth, but at the same time, eeriness to the drawing when you get to the later part of it. So we're going to do there. Bring that purple around. So there. We want to do almost a black on the outfit here. The hair, I kind of just want to keep messing a little bit here and there. But let's see here. Almost want to do that in this color blue for right now. Bring the black around, give her a bit of a corset right in there. It gives a nice little sort of micro detail that can bring the image together a little bit, but at the same time can be just a small little thing that we're adding that helps bring out the image a little bit more detail. Bring a bony look to the arm. Let's actually make the teeth off-white. I'll give her a ratted down apron. And the fingers, we go down to skeletal-like. You want to make them sharp to a point. So we're going to do sharp to a point here. And actually, I'm going to kind of cover it a bit with the other hand right there. Bring the hair around, do more detail because we want to make this look creepy as can be. All right, we're going to take that apron that we started to do ratty. We're going to bring it around this way. And we're going to show something we don't want with the hip. Or with the hip, we're going to do this. She's going to have a really torn up dress. So we need to make sure we feature that. Just sort of jagged, just let your pen sort of hang loose. We'll add holes as we go. Make it sort of the K. Then on this, let's see here, we're gonna bring the hand over. Well, actually, no, it'd be under, excuse me. Hand would go under, so we're gonna go bring it around. And the hand's fingers come up this way. We're gonna bring in our line tool to get us a better shape, because the handle of the axe we want to be straight versus where our skeletal figure is kind of jagged and broken. And one of the key things, if you're going to draw, especially in something like here, we do it in Clip Paint Studio, learn to use all the tools. I mean, don't just use just the pen tool or the pencil tool, or don't just draw freehand. Learn how to use the line tools. Learn how to do the shape tools. Uh, they will help you in a bind at times. They'll give you that straight line a lot easier than you can get with sometimes with a ruler. I mean, it's going to be a flat, straight line, or it'll be able to give you a creative look to it. Look and use those tools. Don't just use your free hands, because you can goof up, you can make mistakes. And one of the easiest ways to avoid it is to learn how to use all of the tools at your disposal, not just the ones that you have. I'm going to be trying to bring a painterly axe to this, head to this. I'm not going to do a double axe, I'm going to do a single axe. But make it sort of a woodsman-y axe. Bring that edge over. Bring that in a bit. We're just going to kind of touch on that line tool to give it sort of a characteristic that it's a wooden handle. And we clean up our work. Let's bring, actually let's finish the hands here. Let's quit making them look odd and try to make them look a bit better than that. So we'll do that. Let's see here. There we go with that hand. This arm we're going to do fix. Let's see, this thumb would be right here. Fingers would be coming in here. All right, we want to make the hands look decrepit, bony. So maybe having a little bit of jaggedness to the hands. Come on. appearing right there. They would be appearing down below. There we go. And arm right there. And we still screw up. And see, sometimes you're gonna screw up and you gotta know, just keep working. Just keep finding a way to do what you want to do for the image. I think I know where my problem here is right there. So I'm just going to slide that there, and yes, that's what that is. All right. Let's bring finger there. Bring the hair down into these curves. Like I said, we're doing almost a heart to get the braid. So you want to do braid there. Braid there, braid there. We bring that around over. We break apart the little knot that we're doing. Add the black there. Oh. Goofed up on the black a bit. Actually, a lot, it looks like. So it means we've got a lot of open gaps. So let's see here. Let's see here. Bring that around. Over. Definitely want more holes, especially at the bottom here. That's where your tears are more likely to occur. Let's bring the apron down there. A little bit of the apron will be seen here. Now, normally with an illustration or an animation or a comic, you don't use black. And I mean pure black, with the exception of trying to bring out that dark, eerie stuff. So in this case, I am bringing black into this picture. And that's because I'm going to be using darker, eerie colors throughout. So we're going to be continuing the hair here. But as we move to the background, when we get to it, we're going to be seeing more of the darker colors come into play, and she's going to be more out prominent. Let's see here. Let's make her. That's too similar to that. Let's do the light blue on her apron. And we're going to repeat the black in the dress. Now I want to give her eyebrows. We're going to give her sort of unmanaged eyebrows to keep that sort of creep, eerie factor in. Now that we got our hair color and our face line, let's do something with the hair to sort of bring it out. Now, the way this image is we know where our light sources are. We're going to have some light coming off from the moon, which is right here. And we're going to have some light coming out of her eyes. So anything that we do, there's going to be a shadow coming in right in here. So it's going to be working, we're working from light to dark. So the audience is going to be having that darkness coming at them. So one of the things you want to do when you do something like that, you want to go on another layer. And we're going to work with black to get sort of a shadow going here. And I'm going to try and just get the center of the mask to be black. So center, try and keep it in the center as much as I can. And then I want to take that, we're going to put that as a darken cross, and we're going to work out from there. So we're going to do a little bit of shadow detail. And I can just go over, I don't even have to use the concept, so we can just go over and sort of just use this dark shadow. Where that shadow will land on this figure. So shadow, shadow. It's a nice little trick to learn is when you're doing something like this to know how you want your shadows, how you want them to look. So in this case, I want sort of that dark, eerie shadow coming through. At the same time, we're going to be putting in light with those eyes. So we want them to be able to have a little bit of an eeriness themselves coming in on the form and the figure. And in that case, we may do multiple layers of shadow or multiple layers of glowing um, techniques. So let's do creepiness. So we're adding a shadow text, basically one that'll be a little bit more of a texture for us to use. So we're doing sort of dashes and lines. We want to kind of get that across on the skin. And the hair, we want to kind of bring in a bit of darkness more. It's the hair. Just twine, intertwine. And that's going to go in. Just add sort of a rough texture to the body. And you can see now as it gets darker, these eyes, these green, are really starting to pop. So I'm going to actually switch to a pencil for this next layer of shadow, because I want to do some texture on the clothing. So we're going to do more of a crosshatch here. Give it more of a faded, sort of woven texture in the shadow. And we're going to go back over and do some of the hair, finer tones. Since we got the pencil tool out, and get that nice finer hair shadow going in. Just hit it all over. Hit it in light areas, hit it in the dark areas, just to give it sort of a texture. Because this is an illustration, we want that texture feel. We want it to look good. Like it's somebody's actual hair sort of swirling about inside. I'll even do a little bit of a light layer. So we'll hit some light areas of this body. So we're going to, in this case, we're going to do some light right on the shadow of the hair. Right in there. Because the moonlight's going to be right here. We want to kind of focus right there. Just give it a little bit of an eerie glow. little bit with the skin. Let's bring a lighter, almost paler purple in here on a little bit of highlights of the skin right in here. Maybe a little bit lighter than that. Let's go that color. Go back over with some of the darker tones here. We've been ignoring the aprons, so I mean the apron's this bright blue on the outside. We gave it this sort of faded blue, so we need to go back over and deal with this apron color. Definitely need to bring that in, darken it down. We already know we're going to do black. Hold on a second. Select, deselect. Already know we're going to do black. Well, crud. Right there. So we reselect. Let's bring in our darker tones. Bring in our blacks in here. We go to the next layer, we add our sort of almost textural tone of shadow. So bring in the shadow a bit. Go to the next layer, do it even thinner, sort of textural, like I said. Bring that in. All those little marks, all those little things make a small difference, but can make the image look much better as it develops. Working the way light from into dark. In this case, that's how we're doing this image. We want to have that sort of almost mimicry of how this is undead creature. We want to do that, treat the image as it's going and it's dying image wise. You're taking the image and you're taking it from the light and you're bringing it into this dark. So the creature's almost reminiscent of how we're drawing it out. There is another way of drawing, and you can draw. It's the sort of black velvet way, and it's one of the ways that I first really learned how to do a nifty technique. But that's one where you're adding to the darkness and you're bringing in the light, and that you're bringing out the image. It's a really difficult challenge. And if you ever want to try something that's interesting, give it a try. It is purely something enjoyable. Now, I want to wait on doing the lower half of her. I want to focus, I want to get the axe done, and then I want to try and do the background, and then I'll do the lower half of her. So let's get out of our selection here. Let's bring out the axe. This is going to be one of those points, those small points of warm colors in this drawing. Just small elements of warm colors in a dark blue, cool color drawing really snap that image. And so we want to make sure we have this. I got this nice cool gray or it's a French gray, and that's going to be great for the axe base. So we're going to bring this on out. Put a little bit of lighter on that end, and we want to bring that small hint of wood there. And because we want this axe to look sharp, we're going to want that blade to gleam. So we want to make sure that this edge looks sharp. All right. Touch on parts of the hand that we're missing. Wrong color. Purple there. Bring a little bit of darkness in there. Just a little texture. Tiny bit of light. Now, last time I did a background, I did what was called a quick one of outdoor. Now we're kind of going to do an outdoor background as we get to this one. And we're going to want this background to be very eerie. So we're going to be doing almost work our way out the imagery wise. So I'm going to finish up with the axe a little bit here, and then I'll bring in that element that I want in this doorway. First and foremost, I want a couple layers. So I'm just going to add a few layers in, and I want to actually use black as the bottom. So we're going to do what I was saying we can do with an image. We're going to be bringing this creature out into this artwork. So we've got our black. I'm going to fade it. It shows me a few things I need to touch up on. So I need a touch of that color to go over here. And we need to shadow it. And we're going to shadow it heavy in there. So we shadow there, we shadow there. And then on our textural shadow, we're going to add some texture there if we can. And since we're working our way out from the black, one of the next things I want, since this is a background, and we're going to be working outward in, is we want to establish that moon. Now, in the story, there are two moons. There's one that's called the black moon, and the other is called the green moon. The curse is basically based off of a red moon, which doesn't exist in the series. This is going to be its green moon. So I actually want to start with a darker green, but I want to start it solidly. And then we're going to bring that light up off of that green moon. By doing a few airbrush tones. That green edge is just going to give us sort of a pop to work from. And as I go, I'm just sort of bringing a layer up and over about the green light. We'll come back around and we'll work our way back in a little bit with the darker green on a more solid airbrush. So let's bring darker green in there. Bring darker green and a bit of a sharper edge. Let's see here. We're just going to add a little textural to this moon. Little elements here and there. Crud. All right, let's go back. That wasn't working. All right, let's just do it outward. Wise. Let it adjust. All right. We're going to do it outward wise. Here's the light. We're going to fade the light slowly down in here. Now we're going to circle. Just going to do a white aspect to the moon there, sort of almost an outline. Let's do this actually on another layer. So white border. This will help us keep it in sort of a planetary form. even want to get that white border. So we can work our way in from there. So we're going to do our white light. Come back with it on green elements to the moon. So it's a white light coming through that green moon. We're going to add some spots, so almost a moon surface on here. Bring a dark side to it. Bring some of that light back in. And that's, you're basically, when you're doing something like this, you're doing planetary, you kind of just want to make it sort of mysterious, almost unearthly, because it is unearthly. You're creating sort of this world that's going to be playing on the light and the dark. So you want to sort of shape how it looks. Sort of speckle it there a bit. Add in some spots. And let's see here. Let's add in a little bit of this odd green. Now what I'm going to do is, now that I'm adding this, I have my handy dandy blend tool. Blending, bring these colors in. Bring in that sort of mysterious tone and shape. Brings that, gives us sort of a look for this whole moon. So there's a nice color. We want to add a little texture to it. We'll go to the next layer and we'll do some sort of pattern here. So let's visit the vegetation patterns, because I got a couple of good leaf patterns that might work well here. Just work a little bit of the darkness over to the surface of the moon. So this is just going to give it a little bit of texture. Fade that over. Get another layer. Do another pattern. Maybe bring in a different color tone. In this case, I want to add some black. These are just quick mixes. As we work it, we can see we now have this tone for this moon. This unworldly moon has finally got its tone, so we can deselect. And we can go back to dealing with the light of this moon, because we need a bit more light coming in. So we want that soft light, but we want to bring this up as high as we can so we can bring in that eeriness. I'm not too worried about it going over the wood where the wood frame is supposed to be, because it's going to be right in there. There we go. Now that we know where wood frame is, and now that we have our moon, we can go on to the next layer. And this is where we're going to be using that line tool all over again. We're going to do our jagged wood frame door. So frame. We're going to do jagged there. So this was somebody clearly would not make this up to code. If you're watching this and you're from outside the US, we have a code system here in the US towards how buildings are made. I don't know if your country has the same setup. But we certainly do. This building would fail it in a heartbeat, the way I see it. Bring that on in here. Then we're going to do our jagged planks. Normally I wouldn't mind, I just do sort of like a flat surface, but because we want that extra element of horror, we're going to make these planks look like they're popping out. So we're going to be doing little tidbits here. Wow, this is going to be one of our longest videos. All right. Well, in that case, let's get this finished up to a point and bring this to an end for tonight. So let's do as much of this quick background as we can. And I'll finish this drawing up a little bit later. And it'll release when I get the chapter done writing. So we want almost a dark brown here. So dark grayish brown for the interior. Well, we failed somewhere. Hold on. All right. Wood plank, wood plank. We didn't do it there. All right, so let's do separation here. Now let's do that dark brown that we're looking for. Murky, almost purplish brown. Let's go with blue, green. Here we go. Let's go greenish brown here. This brown's going to actually be our exterior. Brown. And we're going to bring in a little bit more of sort of this puke greenish brown here for the door. That'll probably be a little bit lighter. Yeah. And I want to kind of almost repeat that brown in here. And we went outside. Let's see, where is it leading? Right there. Okay. Let's see. Now if we bring up, let's see here, let's do Midnight Sky, gradient. Blue to black. Okay. We're gonna add a layer over top of that where we're gonna make it green to black. And that green is just gonna be, give that a sickeningly green dark. And we're going to add some little cracks in the walls, and we're going to be doing that by actually removing parts of the front. Actually, that's not it. Here we go. This front exterior. So we're going to do little cracks right where some of this light shows. Little cracks. Almost do a knot hole right here. See, these little elements, these little tiny things can help bring a bit more spookiness to this image. They help bring out elements to this image that make it all that more spooky, creepy, whatever you're kind of going for. Making this sort of look like a shack down here. And I'm just going to hit these up on the bottom. And we're going to bring in those. Now we'll do those legs real quick. I said I was going to bring in later. And now I want the legs to almost, I want to work with them from black. So we're going to work our way out with the legs. Almost want them to be unrecognizable as human. And we'll add a little bit of blue to this dress. If I can. Here. Where's my light? I think that's it. That brings it out a bit more. We bring out this gray. If we can get it. Just bring a little bit of that purple in, but just a little bit. Back up here. So we recognize her legs are right here. And because we wanted woods, we'll add one small element between the door and the outside. And that's going to be shadow of trees. So that same I don't want to use the same texture I used on the moon. We're going to switch to a different kind of tree brush. We're going to make it large. Make sure the particle sizes are large. And we're just going to add some dark to the image. Not completely dominating it, but enough to bring us a background to this image. That'll help us make it look a little bit more eerie. Add a little bit of green to it. Actually, let's do that on another layer so we can add it in tonage, or add it in the tones we want. Here we go. Let's add a little bit green. Bring in a little lighter green, and this is just going to be in small spots. So we want it smaller. Now, let's bring the particle size up. Just want a little bit of light to it, just a hint. Then we take that door frame just to make it spooky. We're going to add some black to that on another layer. We're just do some quick sort of slats. When I get a brush size, it's good. Yep. Not what I wanted there. Just sort of slats here. Cheap slats. And I did that on the wrong layer. All right, come on, back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. All right, let's actually do this. We're gonna zoom out, go on another layer. And we're just gonna do these quick brush sessions, quickly across. Helps to zoom out a little bit to do it. Just do a little bit of creepiness to that shadow. We're going to add another layer of that. This will help add that look that I was saying. We're going to go for that slatted look. And there we go. We have a very, very creepy image. Probably could do a little bit better with this axe here. A little bit of shading. Oh, that's not the shading layer. That's the shading layer. There we go. Let's add a shadow down below, because she'd be casting one. And lastly, we're going to add a layer for the light. And this is going to be the trickiest one. This, we want a soft, we want to do some white light. So we want a little bit of light coming in through there, a little light there, a little bit of light there, 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 and then a lot coming from the door. Ah, there's another spot right there, right there. Let's add a lot from the door. And we're actually going to put this behind the zombie in a bit. But I want to kind of just bring the light coming through. And that's going to just add a glow to it. So now it's an eerie, creepy light coming through. And there we have it. There's how to do sort of a quick, and see we screwed up. We need to move the legs up on the light. It's going to be a quick way to just do a creepy monster. It's a nice quick way, gives us something, things. And yeah, I mean, it took us 2 hours to do this. Part of it was, first half hour was us literally exploring what we wanted out of the image. I think we got a pretty good detail here. Let me know what you think. Please, as always, like, comment, subscribe. share the videos with people. If you want to see more of this, or if you want to see something different, I am planning on trying to do some different kind of videos and actual just videos and not just these long live streams. Um, Absolutely contact me if you want something drawn on these live streams. Absolutely put it in the comments. Absolutely comment. You send me a message, be like, "Hey, I have a request. I want to see this drawn." Um, as long as it's YouTube friendly, Facebook friendly, I have no problem. Just send it on over, and we'll add it to the list. But before we go, I always have to give a shout out to my sponsor, and they are Built Bar. This is a absolute delicious treat. I had one today. I had the caramel again today. It is a wonderful low carb, low calorie, low sugar, high protein, keto friendly snack bar. And I am going to say snack bar in this sense. It is a protein bar, but it tastes just like a candy bar. So if you want to cut back on that sugar, to have something sweet in your diet, but not be eating so much sugar, and you don't want to eat a piece of fruit, here's a great option. Built bars. They are absolutely delicious. They focus on flavors first over anything else. So that caramel today was rich and creamy and absolutely just melted in the mouth along with the dark chocolate. And they use real dark chocolate, not some fake chocolate around there. So if you want to get yourself some bars yourself, go to built.com, promo code EmbriaArts. That's built.com, promo code EmbriaArts for 10% off your entire order. And until then, I ask you to just keep on creating and share your creations, and maybe we might even start featuring other artists in these Dining and Doodles to show off what they can do. So see you next time, and till then, have a good evening.